This is Graduate a CEO, what it takes and what it means to become an entrepreneur, and why college is the perfect time to start your business. Here's Jim Hunter.
Welcome back to my discussion with Caitie Gehlhausen, the founder and CEO of Locket, the patented mobile phone accessory that allows you to have your favorite grip and hold up to 3 cards. We've been discussing her journey that serves as an inspiration to anyone who aspires to make a mark in the world of entrepreneurship while in college. Caitie, let's go back and talk about the series of events that started with your founding the company, surviving the pandemic, and then signing your deal with Walmart.
Yes. So COVID happened March of 2020, give or take. And then we got our email from Walmart saying we got an interview at the end of July, but we had our first conversation on October 1st of 2020.
Okay, well, I'm being an entrepreneur myself, I think about cash flow, volume, being able to survive, and I know that you got a patent on this, and that wasn't cheap. So you had to have some ways to get financing. How did you do it?
Yeah, so originally I had taken a loan actually from my parents. And then some of it was in exchange for equity of the business. So my mom owns half of the business as well. So
49 or 51%?
No, we're 50-50.
50-50. Oh my gosh.
Yep. So she was like, I'll do this, but we're going to be equal business partners in this. And she's funny though, because she's like, lets me have the final say of most things. But I think she still gave me a pretty good deal for what they had helped give me for a loan. But so that was the initial funding for it, alongside several other pitch competitions. I had about prior to graduating, I had about $24,000 in pitch competition winnings.
Terrific.
And then once we actually got the commitment from Walmart, that was interesting because the commitment from them was so big. We had never, like, our production runs that we had done before that, the largest production run we had ever done was maybe 5,000 units ever, and they were requesting several 100,000 units. So wow. We had to gear up for that and figure out very quickly how we were going to get the financing for that. We ended up getting an SBA line of credit, which was really good. And at the time, the interest rates were pretty low with that. But it was an interesting process for getting approved for it, because we had to get a letter of intent from the Walmart merchants, but they wanted the letter of intent did not, in their eyes, in the underwriter's eyes, was not deemed like a binding contract. So they wouldn't give us the line of credit until they actually received the POs, which they don't actually issue the POs until about 4 to 6 weeks out from the must arrive by date. So there was this kind of crazy time period where we were like asking all our suppliers for the longest possible terms. And we ended up going through the entire process because it was a huge process of information we had to give to the SBA. And we had all of our information over to them. And it was like, as soon as you get the PO, send us the PO and we will allow you access to the line of credit, like immediately, like the same day. So we had gotten everything prepared for the moment that they actually issued the PO. That's kind of how that process went.
Well, that's great. Well, they really helped you launch then. The SBA loan was instrumental to making it all happen.
Yes. Yeah, it was huge. And we get that too for 7 years, which is great because we can still have that financing for inventory and for future as well.
Yeah, that's great. What would you say is the importance of mentorship in this whole process?
Oh my gosh.
Did you have mentors?
Yes. I think that mentorship is extremely important. I think it's extremely important who you decide to be your mentor to. I think it's really important that you vibe with them and that you feel comfortable in bringing the problems that you're going through to them, as opposed to sugarcoating it, because I've had a lot of different mentors, and the ones that I've had the best experiences with are the ones that I feel like I can just talk to candidly, and if I needed to cry to them, I could.
Oh, great.
But my two professors, specifically Professor Elliott and Troy at High Point. Unfortunately, Troy's not still a professor at High Point, but I still talk to them all the time. I still go into Professor Elliott's class occasionally and give talks to her students. And then Troy, I actually just called up the other day asking for some advice, literally last Thursday. So I still keep in contact with them a lot. But yeah, I think it's super important.
Well, that's great. How do you handle failure and setbacks in your entrepreneurial journey? And do you have any advice for others in that regard?
I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, I think I'm still figuring that out. I think for a long period of time, like failures or missteps really would get me down. I'm just naturally a very competitive person, so I I just don't like when I'm not quote winning, whatever that even means as an entrepreneur. I don't even know that I've even defined what success as an entrepreneur is yet, but uh, I think that I've become less attached over the years from the outcome and more attached to the journey. And I think that sounds so cliche. I feel like everyone says that as an entrepreneur, but if you don't appreciate the journey rather than the outcome, I think that it's really easy to give up when things get hard, because things do get hard. So, yeah, I guess that's it's a work in progress, but I've tried to manage as best as I could.
Well, you've done very well, and it's an exciting story. And I'm sure that the students of the classes that you talk with are inspired, and it's really great, and it's wonderful that you'll go back and share, because the stories aren't always really positive.
Yeah,
There are some negative aspects, and you've got to have the determination and guts to stick it out.
yeah, and I think it's interesting too that sometimes when I go back and I give different talk, because I get a lot of requests to talk to different groups and young entrepreneurs, but it's funny because I'm like, I mean, I'm going through it at the same time that I'm giving you this talk, so it's like I'm really not that many steps ahead of where you are. If not, or if not, we're actually doing we're at the same level, kind of doing this together. So I know. I think it's encouraging a lot of times to hear from people who have just been through it, like me, as opposed to sometimes when you hear from people who have kind of made it to the other side, it can seem like that's just so far away and sometimes not feasible, but it really is.
Well, I don't know how much you can talk about your future plans, but can you give us any hints?
Yeah. So this question is always interesting when I get asked this, because I don't know that I've always felt in my heart that I'm going to do something really great, and I just don't I still don't think that I've figured out what that's going to be. And when I look back on my life when I'm 80, I don't know what the definition of success will like for me at that point. I do know that I still continue to have a deep passion for entrepreneurship. I know sometimes when things can get hard, it's easy to be like, oh, it'd be so much easier to just like go to corporate America and go work for someone. But I think no matter what stage in life I am at, I will always be a part of some sort of, either whether it's me building a company or me being a part of something really early stage, that I'm helping build from the ground floor. I think I'll always be in those grassroots of uh, of business building.
Well, it may be because of your family background, but it sounds like you're an entrepreneur and you're always going to be an entrepreneur. I
Yeah.
can't see you quitting and working for the man. It just doesn't
No. No, and I don't think I'd be that good of an employee either. I worked for all of 6 days until I had to quit my job that I accepted post graduation. So I don't think that the typical journey for being employed is for me.
Do you have any advice for would-be entrepreneurs? Possibly, my focus with my book and everything has been students
Yeah.
that maybe even didn't even think about it. Now you thought about it, and your dad kind of nudged you a bit, and probably your mom too. So there are students who never even thought about it, and there's such an opportunity, it seems like, for students in college to get support of various types.
I think what's interesting is that I could go down a whole rabbit hole as far as like how passionate I am about students getting involved in entrepreneurship. I would say that although my dad was an entrepreneur, and I think that's where I was extremely lucky to see that growing up and to see that as a possibility. So I know that I'm definitely lucky in that sense. But I didn't grow up making a lemonade stand. I never was super excited about selling bracelets that I made on the side or anything like that. I was pretty goal driven around golf. And so I think I was always just like an opportunity seeker, not necessarily wouldn't consider myself super business oriented at going into college or anything. So I think that when people think of entrepreneurs, sometimes they have certain thoughts around what that means to be an entrepreneur, whether that means that you have to be a super business minded when you're first starting out, or that you have to have a sales background, or that you have to be this or that. And I think that the biggest theme that runs throughout entrepreneurship is just having passion for whatever you're doing. So I think that really you can take any passion and turn it into some sort of business. So that's my piece of advice as far as like whether you're, a biology major and you have no idea if you could fit into being eventually an entrepreneur. I think absolutely yes, you can. I also think that as far as being involved in college, I'm a huge advocate of being involved in the entrepreneurship program and any other clubs that you can surrounding entrepreneurship. If you asked my professors, they would say exactly what I'm about to say, that any opportunity that came across my desk or the other students' desks, as far as like leadership development or pitching skills or pitching opportunity, grant funding, scholarship funding for prototypes, any opportunity that came across my way, I would take full advantage of and give it my 100% to that. And I think that that's why I ran instead of walked during college with my business. And I think that there's no other time in your entire life that you have more resources, more support, you have more people in your corner rooting for you, and you get more benefit of the doubt than any other time in pretty much your whole life. I think it's just such a special time to start your business during college.
That's a wonderful statement, and I think it's so true. And you've lived it. That's really great.
Yeah.
One of the things that kind of struck me in doing preparation for some of my classes that I teach is the Ideate method. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It's a book that was created to help students come up with business ideas.
Okay.
And you go through several different forms of thinking. You come up with an idea. You come up with an analysis of the environment. Is a change taking place in the environment that creates opportunity? And the thing that struck me, I fell into the trap of looking for a product as opposed to looking for an opportunity or a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a change for you, that you decided to look for problems rather than products?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because when I think about like when people ask me about my background is Lockett. So it's not like I had a huge expertise previous to Lockett. So I think that when my dad kind of gave me that advice to look for problems rather than search for ideas, that was kind of the foundation that I've always built all of my ideas around moving forward since I was 19 years old. So yeah, I absolutely take that along to this day, and all my friends give me such a hard time because I just come up with these crazy ideas for them to start businesses because they tell me about a problem and how they reached a solution doing it, and I'm always telling them, "Oh my gosh, you could do a business around that. People pay a lot of money for that." And they're like, "Caitie, I'm not searching to start a business right now. you got to stop with those suggestions." So yeah, I'm always seeking solutions for different things.
Well, that's great. Gosh, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, and I appreciate your willingness to be interviewed as part of the book, which really is about you as a student with an idea starting a business while in college. And
Yeah.
it really was helpful to have that interview, and I appreciate it very much. And I certainly want to keep in touch because I'd like to know more about the secrets that you're coming up with that you're going to develop into new products.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I know you've been such a huge support from me over the years. We first met when I think I was like 19, so
Yep.
I appreciate you and even your willingness to even follow my journey, and I think that's so awesome. And I appreciate all the work you're doing to help young entrepreneurs and college graduates. I think it's such a cool time to start a business. So I love what you're doing too.
Well, thanks. And I may and probably will be in touch with you in the future because I want to hear
Yeah.
how things are going and what's new on the horizon. So
Yeah.
we'll keep in touch.
I have this deep feeling that 2023 is going to be a good year. So I am hoping to have a lot of good updates for you next time we talk.
Well, terrific. Caitie, as we come to a close, can you tell us a little bit more about how people could reach you? You have some awfully good advice for people, and they may need to reach you. So how can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Caitie Gehlhausen on LinkedIn. You could also go to my website, which is locketofficial.com. Lockett is spelled Lockit, official.com. And then on Instagram, we are at Lockett Official.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun, and it's been awesome to catch up with you.
Absolutely. And that wraps up the first episode of Graduate a CEO. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, make sure that you take a second to subscribe so you automatically get my new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I'd love if you left me a review so more entrepreneurs like yourself can discover the show. Until next time, take care.
This has been Graduate a CEO with Jim Hunter. If you'd like to connect with Jim and learn more about why you should consider starting a business while in college, go to jameshhunter.com. Graduate a CEO is a production of Advantage Audio.